Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Icebound by Dean Koontz, performed by Jim Frangione. Within a minute or two of lying down, Nikita Gorov knew that he was not going to be able to get any rest. From out of the past, one small ghost materialized to haunt him and ensure that he would not find the peace of sleep. When he closed his eyes, he could see little Nikolai, his Nicky, running toward him through a soft yellow haze. The child's arms were open wide, and he was giggling. But the distance between them could not be closed, regardless of how long or fast Nicky ran or how desperately Gorov reached out for him. They were separated by only 10 or 12 feet, but each inch was an infinity. The captain wanted nothing half as much as to touch his son, but the unbreachable veil between life and death separated them. With a soft, involuntary sigh of despair, Gorov opened his eyes and looked at the silver-framed photograph on the corner desk. Nikolai and himself, standing in front of a piano accordion player on a Moscow River cruise ship. At times, when the past lay especially heavy on him, Gorov was monstrously depressed by the photograph. But he could not remove it. He could not put it in a drawer or throw it away any more than he could chop off his right hand merely because Nikolai had often held it. Suddenly charged with nervous energy, he got up from his bunk. He wanted to pace, but his quarters were too small. In 3 steps, he had walked the length of the narrow aisle between the bed and the closet. He couldn't allow the crew to see how distraught he was. Otherwise, he might have paced the main companionway. Finally, he sat at his desk. He took the photograph in both hands, as if by confronting it and his agonizing loss, he could smooth the pain in his heart and calm himself. He spoke softly to the golden-haired boy in the picture. "I am not responsible for your death, Nicky." Gorov knew that was true. He believed it as well, which was more important than merely knowing it. Yet oceans of guilt washed through him in endless corrosive tides. "I know you never blamed me, Nicky, but I wish I could hear you tell me so." In mid-June, 7 months ago, the Ilya Pogodin had been 60 days into an ultra-secret 90-day electronic surveillance mission on the Mediterranean route. The boat had been submerged 9 miles off the Egyptian coast, directly north of the city of Alexandria. The multi-communications aerial was up, and thousands of bytes of data, important and otherwise, were filing into the computer banks every minute. At 2 o'clock in the morning, the 15th of June, a message came in from the Naval Intelligence Office at Sevastopol, relayed from the Naval Ministry in Moscow. It required a confirmation from the Ilya Pogodin, thereby shattering the radio silence that was an absolute necessity during a clandestine mission. When the code specialist had finished translating the encrypted text, Gorov was wakened by the night communications officer. He sat in his bunk and read from the pale yellow paper. The message began with latitude and longitude coordinates, followed by orders to rendezvous in 22 hours with the Peter Vavilov, a Vostok-class research ship that was currently in the same part of the Mediterranean, to which the Pogodin was assigned. That much of it pleasantly piqued Gorov's curiosity. A midnight meeting in the middle of the sea was a more traditional and intriguing piece of cloak-and-dagger work than that to which he was accustomed in an age of electronic spying. But the rest of it brought him straight to his feet, trembling. "Your son in serious condition. Kremlin Hospital. Stop. Your presence required Moscow soonest. Stop. All transportation has been arranged. Stop. First Officer Zhukov to assume command your ship. Stop. Confirm receipt. Confirm receipt."